Okay, welcome back guys to another one of my online Rome Total War battles. This time with a bit of a twist. I'm going to go through tactics a little bit and discuss the mechanics of Total War, or Rome Total War 2 as it is. Now, I haven't been keeping in the loop with all the patches, so I want to just go through what I observed. But first of all, just to give you some background on the battle, I'll go through the two armies. I am playing as Tylis against the Averni. My army consists of 2 units of raiding horsemen deployed on my left, 2 units of Thracian warriors deployed on my left, covered by a unit of spear warriors. I have 2 units of Oathsworn on the left hand side of my wall of swords, 3 units of tribal warriors, another unit of spear warriors guarding the right flank, 3 units of mercenary Thracian peltasts deployed to the left, and 2 units of noble horse deployed on my far right. You could say it's a division of power. I think overall unit quality remains, or I guess unit quality slash density slash numbers sort of, if you all merge that together to make, I guess, the effectiveness of each side, it measures about roughly the equal across. Neither side is stronger is what I'm trying to say, neither flank. My opponent, playing as the Averni, has brought 4 units of noble horse, 2 deployed on each flank. He has a grand total of 5 units of... 4 units of chosen swordsmen, 2 units of chosen spearmen. That's 1 unit of chosen spearmen with a unit of spear nobles as his general as well. So that's 2 units of spearmen. 2 units of savage dogs. 2 units of noble horse as well on this flank. And there is another unit of savage dogs, I think. Yep, here it is, just behind his spearmen. So, what I want to discuss is this. What is that? That is not a battle formation. That is a 3-man deep column that's been divided. It's ineffective. But from my observation in a couple of the past games, I see a lot of see how I've deployed in thick ranks but with gaps. I much prefer this because I feel like the density and the effectiveness of the unit is just so much greater when they're densely packed, especially for a melee combat. Things like peltasts and archers, yeah, they could probably be spread out a little bit, but infantry needs mass and weight to support it. Either way, I'll go through what the movements are and hit normal speed. My raiding horsemen are just coming up to try and harass his noble horse. He does unleash his savage dogs at me, which I'm not overly happy about. And I leave, but it's not going to do horrendous amounts of casualties, and I'm beginning to tire out the noble horse, which have chased me, and probably will not really achieve very much. I like how javelin men have been able to do the Parthian shot now. It just makes a lot more sense, it makes them much more effective. I really like how they act at the moment. It just makes me happy. And they're taking a few fights. I don't know if they're going to take many hit point damage or anything, but it's nice to get that little bit of harassment and annoyance. On the right hand side, I'm going to go into slow motion again. I'm beginning to engage. I've engaged on Frenzy, and I'm pushing into his chosen spearmen and his left flank of swordsmen with my tribal warriors. My spear warriors are moving towards his noble horse, and my noble horse is standing ready. Now, my plan is essentially here to just engage his lines at this point while holding off his cavalry on the left and winning the cavalry fight on the right. Now, let's just look at this charge here, okay? This unit of chosen swordsmen are not going to do too great. They're going to get charged on both ends because of the way they were set up. This unit of tribal warriors, ditto, is actually going to take a lot of damage from this flank charge here, but you'll find that my thick ranks will support me much better moving on in the fight. At this point, there isn't too much difference between our units, but mine are just generally nice. I think I missed the charge as well a little bit with this frenzy. But anyway, moving stuff into action, he actually gets an amazing charge on this side against my Thracian warriors, which was really poor from me. I should not have left them this vulnerable to a flank charge. Both get routed off immediately. However, it does give me a chance to bring in these spear warriors and just bring them across to actually engage his noble horse, which is a great opportunity for me. Continue on the right, you can see I'm actually starting to rout off one of his chosen swordsmen already, and that's purely because they haven't lasted in the fight, whereas mine have done fantastically. These are not amazing. The matchup is pretty equal, but you wouldn't tell it by the combat. He's let me charge his noble horse on the left with my screening unit of spearmen, and my one unit of noble horse is going to engage his. I've actually got my general pushed into his chosen spear unit, which was a bit of a bad idea, but it got me also a flank charge on these chosen swordsmen. Here these guys don't do so well, but I don't know why they're wavering, because they're 100 out of 120. They're not doing god awful. I get in return another flank charge, and you can see he's got so many of these men just not doing anything. They're just sitting on the flank, not addressing any problems. Mine's sort of similar here, but you can see at this point and with these units, they're fully engaged. Same with here. Let's just pause for a second. This unit, okay, my Oathsworn, yes, they're Oathsworns, they should win, but they're so densely packed, they're all fighting. These guys are doing nothing. They're not doing anything. It's not even, doesn't make any sense. His cavalry, similarly, they're not fighting. They're just standing there in these long, pathetic lines. Whereas all my spear warriors are clumped up, moving in ranks, being supported, and just taking out his cavalry. Now, I'll go back into slow motion. For the most part, I'm not doing... My right-hand side is winning, my left-hand side is holding. That's the main thing. Over here, he has moved his noble horse out, and similarly I'm moving my general's noble horse out of these spearmen. That was a bit lazy from me, but I'm just completely dominating his units here. They're not fighting in a particularly fantastic fashion because of their dense lines. Now here I've got a ton of mercenary Thracian peltasts who are more than willing to throw spears into his spear nobles. At this point he decides these peltasts are an issue, and I completely agree, they are, and he charges them. I absorb the charge. I decide, sod it, these are Thracian peltasts, they are going to do fine in combat. So I hold them there long enough just for my spear warriors to catch up and follow up. Now let's look at where my Oathsworn were. They've just routed off. Like, as a big clump, they're fighting 2 units on one, they're in thick formations and fighting fantastically. Like, I don't understand, but they're coping better because they got the safety of a dense formation. Same with these spear warriors. I think he's finally moved his troops into some sort of thick formations, but it's just too little too late at this point. I've routed off the entirety of his right flank, which is fantastic. Over here, yes, Oathsworn are pretty good because they do so much damage, but they should probably win a fight 1-on-1, but they're not 1-on-1, they're now 1-on-3, and I'm actually having to bring in some Oathsworn, the other Oathsworn unit into the centre. Here I'm getting loads of kills on his noble horse, which isn't really moving. But you can see that it's just that initial point where he wanted to get as much of a charge off as possible, and wanted to, hold the line as much as possible for his noble horse. He couldn't do it, simply because his men were so vulnerable to any sort of charge themselves. They didn't fight efficiently because of these long line formations. Just looking, this unit of Oathsworn absolutely destroying a unit of chosen spearmen who just went into shield war. Don't think it'll matter too much. But I'm really mopping up at this point. But this video is more to ask the question, because I'm still learning Total War a little bit and the new mechanics, but it really seems to me everyone's deploying in these long, thin lines. Every time I keep beating them in infantry engagements so soundly because they haven't deployed in a sensible formation at all. I think here I also try and absorb a noble horse charge from these Thracian. Oh, they're tribal forces. Either way, whatever works. But you can see as well, especially with cavalry, if I could go back there, you'll see that these long, thin lines of cavalry hit the troops and there's no momentum behind them. They can't finish the job that they came to start. Anyway, we'll just end the replay and look at these stats. So, as you can see, I have tribal warriors. They've done significantly better than his unit of chosen swordsmen. There's not too much difference, I believe. As you can see, these two units were completely wasted. My fault. The Oathsworn did do a lot of damage, but I really do feel like these thin formations just don't make any sense. Comment if you think otherwise. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm thinking of putting this on the forums as well, so if this is a link on the forums, post in the forum post that I'm going to make. Tell me what you think, but why are people doing these long thin lines? Do they think it's effective? What advantages does it hold? Because I see very few, and I just see a lot of opponents losing battles quite easily because they don't deploy sensibly. Anyway, otherwise, for my loyal viewers, stay safe, and yeah, I'll come back with some more videos.